Rob.
What?
While Templars is in the toilet, let's do a competition, okay?
Okay.
So competition is post a video linking to this particular thing, and we'll post this in a second anyway, telling us why you think you should win what we're going to give you now, and this is what you're going to win.
What are they going to win?
What are they going to win?
One of them.
Yeah, definitely the Imperials. Need the bad guys as well.
Yeah.
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 A couple of rule books.
Yeah.
Cool. So you can play with your mates. So there's 2 rule books. We'll even sign them, I reckon. Do you want to sign them?
No. Yeah, alright,
yeah.
okay.
And actually, let's give them some Sacred Warriors as well, because these can be played with those anyway.
They can?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, yeah. We'll give them something as well. What can we give them?
Do you want some dices?
Dices?
Need some dices.
Yarrick does like dices.
He loves his dices. Do you want some dices? Yeah, some dices.
Yeah.
Wicked, I reckon that should do it. Posters?
All of them. All
of
the posters we can give them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, guys, you're going to get a freebie opportunity here. We'll chuck it together as much as we can, some few extra bits on top of what we've already shown you. What you need to do, just to reconfirm, is tell us why you should win, basically.
On a video.
On a video. Posted to this. Sound good, Rob?
Sounds brilliant.
Anything more to say?
I'm jealous.
It sounds like he's coming back now, and it smells like he's coming back now. We're aiming for probably one every 6 months.
So you're looking at basically now, the game's pretty established, although it's got more chances of expanding.
Yeah.
So, because you see a lot of games that come out and they just sort of manage to hit the first hurdle, and after that they collapse.
No, well, I mean, this is one of the things that Kickstarter has given us. I have to say,
so this is something that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Is Kickstarter.
Maybe we're going to need a 3rd video, mate. I think.
Probably, yeah. Well, we can do that. We can come back and talk about that in another game.
One of the things that's key to me, I think, you know, Kickstarter, as Rob's already mentioned, has its ups and downs. It's a real roller coaster. It has its financial costs as well, because obviously you have to give a lot away.
Because you don't actually get. The thing is, what I know about Kickstarter is, you've still got to give a hell of a lot back to Kickstarter.
That's right. So they take a chunk.
Yeah.
The VAT man, because we're UK based, takes 20%.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to recognise our pledges and our supporters, and encourage them, I guess, is the best term to use. So, you know, if you are gonna put your money down on a project, you know, you're not going to do it for the normal. You need to get more. Yeah. That's what we've had to do. So add all that together, and the fact that both of our products so far have been licensed. Yeah. So a licensor has to get his share as well.
So there's quite a few people getting their share out of the pie.
Yeah.
Before, and we both like pie. Okay.
Definitely, you can tell.
So the thing is that before me and you could actually even get to the pie, and I'm only saying this, I actually haven't got anything from this. No, I'm just trying to use this as an analogy. I'm trying to use this as an analogy. Yeah. It's like there's so many people who jump in to take their slice first before you can actually then focus on spending the money on the product itself.
That's right. And you know, if Kickstarter is used in the way that it was tended, and I make that statement at the beginning of this, rather than an avenue to sell $3 million worth of zombies, for example. If you're using it in the way that it's intended, then you're probably quite naive in business, and you're naive on how much shipping costs. You're naive about how tax works, etc., etc. And a lot of companies will probably make mistakes, and I mean, we certainly did in certain aspects of what I've just mentioned there. So you need to be very careful how you do things. Unfortunately, it's business, and unfortunately, there's crooks out there. And there's people that will rip you off or try to. Yeah. We've unfortunately experienced that as well. So there's lots of money going out before money comes in. Yeah. And I, for example, I'm not employed by Prodos, and in the foreseeable I won't be, because there's no financial way that we can afford to do that with the amount we sell the models for. Now, if we were to double the price of the models, then maybe. Yeah. But that said, who's going to buy them, because they become more.
So you're seeing this. So what you're trying to say is, well, from what we can see here, then this is like with any start-up business, you've got to be really careful about the amount of employees. the amount of money that's actually spent within it, because I mean, I've started my own business up, and I know when you start up a business, it's like you're on next to nothing for a very long time until things are established. And I suppose what makes that harder is that because Kickstarter take their share, and a lot of other companies, well, a lot of other like the government take their share and stuff like that for the VAT man and stuff, you're actually left with not a lot of money. So a lot of these companies that make for example, on Kickstarter, they get their 300,000, 400,000. What people don't think really understand is a lot is taken out before that money actually is given to you to take.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, it's probably not appropriate to give a number, but
no, I'm not. Yeah, you might have to speak up a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's significant the amount that you don't get. So, for example, as you say, if the number on there is £300,000,
yeah, I'm only using that as
an example. Yeah. If it is that, or even $300,000, you can bet your bottom dollar, especially if it's a licensed product, that the company will not see even half of that amount.
So, are you looking? Now, we've talked about license there.
Yeah.
Okay, because obviously it's always I mean, because I've dealt with a lot of licensed stuff before in the past, and it is quite expensive to do so.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that much back on it because you're having to pay out the license owner of the IP. So, are you looking now to or look into the future to create your own projects?
Yeah, well, I think this is a really key point that I'm happy to share. Our strategy, Prodos' strategy, was to get a license, because if we'd have appeared on Kickstarter without an already fan base, and we just turned up with the ability to make a few models based around the game system, we would have been lucky if we'd have been able to afford to produce 10 units.
Because there is, the thing is, there are a lot of companies that go with these brand new ideas, which I think is always great that people do come up with ideas, because obviously with movies and TVs always being revamped and stuff like that. But I think Warzone was different because it was an established game in the past. Yeah. You know, and it was the love for the models and the game that people had. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think Warzone was had a very core, key, and important, but actually relatively small fan base of diehards. I mean, you've probably got one of the things you were particularly fond of as a child. That thing stayed with some of these people for 20 years, but it hasn't evolved. So, take GW, for example, which was the only other system that was out at that time. GW has spent 25, 30 years of evolving their products. You look at a Space Marine or an Imperial Guard from the same time point as we were, our models were at before Prodos came along, and then look at what they are like now. There's a massive difference. And obviously, and people know out there that I'm a fan of some of the old models big time, because they're lovely models. They're chunks of lead, but they're awesome. But then they are of their time, and we never intended to ever bring them back, and the licensor never wanted that to happen either. So we've evolved, but obviously that every time you do something like that, you chuck away. Unfortunately, a few people don't come with you.
Yeah, but also the other side of that is that the characters are still there, and they've just gone through that little bit of a revamp. I mean, because Max and the dog, they were in the original books.
Well, this is it, and the other key thing is that what we've been able to do is, I mean, obviously Max is up here again on this piece of artwork, but we've got the old artwork.
Looks like me.
No, this guy's reasonably good looking.
Okay, that's why I hate him.
But the Max, that's new art, but there's old art, and there's a guy called Paul Bonner who did some beautiful stuff across a lot of gaming systems, but he's well known for Mutant Chronicles.
But he's well known for doing Max falling back, firing.
That's right, falling off a cliff. Yeah. But the model of Max from the 90s did not really very well represent that look. Whereas what we've been able to do is take that Bonner art, take his face, and say, you know what, this is exactly what that art shows. And so where the art is good, and we've felt we can do something with it, we've kept it and used it as the basis. So the Sacred Warriors, for example, the models you end up with are just dynamic poses of the Paul Bonner artwork. Whereas some of the other models weren't appropriate. They were appropriate for the 90s. They weren't to our liking, and they didn't meet how we saw. And the main one would be Cybertronic here, because Cybertronic you know, it's the technological one. Technology in the 90s, you know, your mobile phone was as big as your
I
your
remember
head.
it being massive, yeah.
whereas now a mobile phone, you can arguably have one on your watch, and no doubt that continues. So Cybertronic saw quite a big change, and also it was the one that was least written about by the previous guys. So we've done a lot with Cybertronic, and we're very pleased with what we've done. But again, some people like it, some from the old school, some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah.
But I know for example, one of the people I've got to know quite well as a result of this project, he was pulled into this Kickstarter because of the Everashore and the Immortal. And this is the Immortal here. And basically, and there's the Everashore next to him actually, those models were the ones that brought him in, but they're new. But we also know that those models turned off some
of the original old school players.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you're going to have that, aren't you? There's always going to be a certain percentage that love their product or their original product for what it was back then when they were a child, and it's like, you know, it's like, I suppose, like Star Wars, for example.
Star Wars is
the original
exactly
Star Wars movies.
For me, it's the toy soldiers of Star Wars. I have most, if not all, the Kenner toys. I've got the AT-AT, I've got all of the
original Star Wars ones, but their arms were like that.
That's right.
And then they brought out the He-Man versions.
Yeah, and then
they brought out
and then they brought out the newer versions, which are much more realistic.
Yeah.
But me personally, I will always have a love and affection for those first ones because they bring me back to my childhood, and I think that's the mentality that a lot of the people have.
And you've tried to capture that as well.
Yeah.
I think tried to hold on to a little bit of that, just to cover, you know, to make sure everybody's happy. And I think with all of it, with any project, there's always going to be that element of. Yeah, well, you know, I'm not as happy with this, but you know what, this makes up for it.
That's right. And I mean, there's been lots of, and certain people have changed factions from what they had when they were a teenager or younger to what they have now as 35-year-olds.
I was a big fan of the Missioner. I'm actually now quite a fan of the British stuff, to be fair, just looking at it today.
That's right.
It's actually very, very exciting.
And we've evolved as well. So, you know, when we first started the Kickstarter, our models were not always as we wanted them, but we had to get them out and we had to produce them. And what we've been able to sort of retrospectively done, which was a very big risk, I have to say, and one that we weren't all happy with when we made the decision. Some of the models we've redesigned and reposed. So most of them have just been reposed and made easier to manufacture and made easier to use as a customer. And they sit alongside the old stuff very well. So people that were in the Kickstarter have got 10 different poses rather than just 5. Whereas some of the others we had to redesign. So for example, we had the Valkyries, which in my view were not models that I particularly liked, and we've redone them, and the redone versions are, you know, head and shoulders differently and better than the old ones.
But don't you find that is just the fact that that you're a new company, and you know, things do change.
That's right, and I mean, I think, you know, we had some kickback, and probably rightly so on that. But what we found, I mean, people know that, you know, if Warzone succeeds, if Prodos succeeds first of all, and therefore Warzone succeeds, those models that the people have got at the moment that support us in Kickstarter, so the old Valkyries, for example, 20 years from now, maybe even 10 years, and if you're lucky 5 years from now, those models will make you your money back plus some, because the company will succeed and people want the old school collectors. I mean, I know you've done it, I've certainly done it. I've collected my Star Wars, I've collected various other things because they're rare and I want them. And part of the hobby is collecting. And I think that's another thing as
well. I mean, for me, it was my Forge World, collecting my Forge World stuff. You know, having the pieces, and I think what makes them different to everything else is, like, you know, with these products, is that you can repost them. You can make these different to everybody else's ones.
Definitely.
You know, and that's the nice thing about it. Now, just quickly before we go off, are there any expansions to the actual miniature range, like extra heads or weapons and stuff like that you'll be releasing to make, you know, just as add-on packs?
That will probably come in time. What we are doing is, again, that's another thing that we was conscious of as well, that, you know, we didn't want to just do Warzone and put it there and set it, take a photograph in effect, there's Warzone, see there. So we are bringing out new stuff all the time. So in the next, on a monthly basis, there will be new releases for Warzone and in time AVP as well.
Because AVP, obviously, It's the new kid on the Prodos block.
Yes.
That's coming out hopefully October time, but we're still not.
We're working as fast as we can, but again, we had the same discussion around Warzone when we did Warzone Kickstarter. There's a balancing act between putting stuff out too quick and putting out good stuff.
Yeah.
And AVP, we're massively passionate about it, as we are for Warzone, and we want to make sure that the product goes out is top notch.
Yeah.
And the cardboard we're using is at the same scale, if not better, than the best cardboard that's out there, for example.
So we're talking for the tiling and stuff.
The tiling, and then the miniatures are as good quality as the rest.
I've got to say, I've seen the miniatures, and I've got to say they are very exciting. Yeah. There's some really beautiful posing on them, and it gives you a natural movement and stuff like that with them. So it's really nice that you've thought about that, and they're just not, static.
Well, this is it. I mean, you've got to remember, the long and short of it is the ownership of Prodos games, and most of the people, if not all of the people that work for us, are the designers, Rob, who you've already met, all of those guys. We are passionate about gaming, but we're also passionate about the IP. I don't spend hours and hours writing because I want to, because I have to. I do it because I want to, and I do it until 12 o'clock at night and get up at 5 in the morning because I want to do it. I do it in my spare time, and the same goes for our designers. They want to design the best models they can design, and we want to manufacture those models the best that we can. And that's what we are primarily. That is us as a company.
Fantastic.
And therefore, both these licenses we have 100% passion for.
Will you be ever consider releasing vehicles for AVP?
Again, if the demand is there, yes. There's no reason why not. The license we have, it allows us to manufacture anything in theory from the films and the expanded universe of AVP. So Rob didn't mention it, but we've got characters that came from the original 80s arcade game.
Okay. Oh wow.
So there's two characters there.
Okay, don't mention who they are yet, because
I can't remember who they are. They're allowed. They're public knowledge. But we can do that. And then the Crusher that was mentioned before, the Praetorian Guard or the Royal Guard, all of those things are from the expanded universe.
Fantastic. I do remember the toys of the Guard, and they were monstrous things at that point in time as well. So these are fantastic. So anyway, well, let's cut this off. Mark, I want to say thanks very much for allowing us in here today.
No worries,
it's been absolutely brilliant as usual. There's a vast amount of exciting stuff, and we're going to see you in video 3. Take care, guys.